Story 1, The Big Toy Box, submitted by Mary Ann. I used to work as a security guard at this mall in our town. It wasn't a huge mall, but it was big enough to get lost in if you weren't familiar with it. I was one of the few female security guards there, and I usually got the late night shifts. I didn't mind it, honestly. It was quiet, and I could listen to my podcast without any interruptions. But there was this one night, man, I'll never forget. It was a Thursday around 2 a.m. The mall was dead silent. I was doing my usual rounds, checking the locked stores and making sure everything was in order. As I was passing by one of those toy stores with the big glass windows, I noticed something odd. There was a light flickering inside. I thought maybe it was just a faulty bulb, but then I saw a shadow move. I approached the store cautiously, trying to get a better look. The entrance was locked, as it should be, but I could see someone moving around. My first thought was that it was a burglar. I radioed the control room. "Hey, I think there's someone inside Toyland. Can you check the cameras?" There was a brief pause before the reply came. "We don't see anyone on the cameras. Are you sure?" I was staring right at the shadow, watching it move between the aisles. "I'm looking at them right now," I whispered, not wanting to alert the intruder. "All right, stay put. We're calling the police." I hid behind a pillar, keeping an eye on the store. The shadow seemed to be aimlessly wandering, not really taking anything. It was weird. Then, the figure stopped and turned towards the entrance, right where I was. I ducked, but I was sure they had seen me. I heard the faint sound of the store's back door creaking open and then shutting. I waited a few minutes, ensuring that they were gone. Before I went to check the back door, it was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, my flashlight scanning the dimly lit storage area. Empty. The police arrived a few minutes later. They searched the store, but found no one. They checked the CCTV footage from inside the store, and here's the freaky part. There was no one there. The camera showed the store empty the entire time, even when I was sure I saw someone. I was rattled. The officers suggested that it might have been a trick of the light or my imagination playing tricks on me. The next day, I talked to one of the older security guards about it. He looked uneasy when I mentioned the toy store. He told me that a few years back, a man was caught stealing from that store. When confronted, he tried to escape through the back door, but got trapped and panicked. He hid inside one of the large toy boxes, but it was airtight, and he didn't make it. Story 2, The Toy Store Madman, submitted by Catherine. I once served as a security guard at a local mall. While it wasn't particularly expansive, it had its share of shadowy nooks and elongated, dim corridors. I've always worked the night shift. Most of the time, it was pretty chill. I'd do my rounds, check the doors, and maybe watch some shows on my phone. But there was this one night. Man, I'll never forget it. It was around 2 a.m. The mall echoed with an eerie quietness, broken only by the soft buzz of overhead lights. As I went about my routine patrol, a distant sound caught my attention. It sounded almost like the giggles of children. I initially brushed it off, thinking that it might be my phone acting up, but it became clear the laughter was emanating from somewhere deeper within the mall. I followed the sound, thinking maybe some kids had broken in or were playing a prank. It led me to an old toy store that had been closed down for months. The lights were off inside, but I could swear I saw something move behind the window display. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, flashlight in hand. The laughter had stopped, replaced by this unsettling silence. I called out, "Hello, Anyone in there? No response. I began to walk down one of the aisles, scanning the shelves with my flashlight. That's when I heard it. A soft whisper. Right behind me. I whipped around, but there was no one there. I was about to chalk it up to my imagination when I heard a loud crash from the back storage room. I cautiously made my way there, my heart pounding in my chest. The door to the storage room was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, and what I saw, I still can't explain it. There was a man, probably in his 40s, with wild, unkempt hair and tattered clothes. He was frantically tearing up boxes and throwing toys around. But the weirdest part, he was talking to himself, or maybe the toys. I couldn't tell. He was saying things like, "It has to be here. They promised it'd be here." I mustered up some courage and shouted, "Hey, what are you doing?" He froze, slowly turning to face me. His eyes, they were so vacant, yet filled with this desperation madness. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then, without warning, he lunged at me. I barely managed to sidestep him, and he crashed into a shelf. Toys rained down around us. I bolted for the exit, radioing for backup. I could hear him chasing after me, his ragged breaths echoing in the silent mall. I made it outside and waited for my backup to arrive. When they did, we went back in, but the man was gone. We searched the entire mall, but found no trace of him. The only evidence of his presence was the destroyed toy store. The police were called and they reviewed the security footage. The cameras had caught him entering the mall, but not how he got in. They never found him, and I never saw him again. Story 3, The Unfinished Floor, submitted by Jenny. I used to work as a security personnel for a mall that was under construction. This was about 3 years ago. I was fresh out of college and the job paid well, especially for the night shifts. The mall was massive, with 3 floors completed with a 4th one still under construction. My job was pretty simple. Patrol the mall, make sure no one sneaked in, and report any suspicious activities. One night around 2 a.m., I was doing my usual rounds. The lower floors were easy, just a few turns, check the main entrance, and done. But the unfinished 4th floor, that was a different story. It was dark, with only a few temporary lights scattered around. The floor was uneven, with construction materials everywhere. The eerie shadows cast by the skeletal structures of the mall made it look something out of like a horror movie. I was walking around the 4th floor, my flashlight leading the way, when I heard a noise. It wasn't loud, just a soft shuffle, like someone was dragging their feet. I froze. I was the only one supposed to be here. I called out, "Hello, who's there?" No response. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind or maybe a stray animal. But then I heard it again. This time, closer. I pointed my flashlight in the direction of the sound, but there was nothing. I decided to investigate further. Maybe it was just a worker who had stayed back, or someone homeless looking for shelter. As I walked deeper into the construction site, the noise grew louder. It sounded like whispers now, multiple voices, but I couldn't make out any words. My heart was racing. Every instinct told me to turn around and get out, but I had to know. I reached an area where the floors were particularly uneven, with deep pits and trenches, and that's when I saw them. A group of about 5 people, all dressed in dark clothing, huddled together in one of the pits. They were whispering among themselves, and by the looks of it, they were up to no good. I was about to radio for backup when one of them looked up and locked eyes with me. I can't forget that face, pale with dark circles under his eyes and a sinister smile that sent goosebumps along my spine. He slowly stood up and began walking towards me. The others followed suit. I didn't wait. I turned and ran as fast as I could, not looking back. I could hear their footsteps getting closer, but I didn't dare to glance over my shoulder. I reached the stairs and practically flew down them, finally reaching the safety of the well-lit ground floor. I locked all entrances, called the police, and waited. When they arrived, they searched the entire mall, but found no one. They said it was probably just a group of kids trying to get a thrill. But I knew better. Those weren't just kids, and they weren't there for fun.